And we are outside the clubhouse at the Country Club of Mount Dora. The other board members present are to my right. We have Linda Camp, Ruth LaChance, and Bill Orton. Paul Blankenship was not able to be here tonight. We do have a quorum. This meeting was properly noticed on the HOA website as well as at the Bob Foster Center, and we sent out 2 email blasts to residents. We want to make sure that the Florida sunshine laws are upheld. The one and only agenda item tonight is the presentation from the golf group. We want to make sure that we understand the golf group is going to be presenting their ideas and potential plans of the future of the golf course. It's important to know that the board of directors is just a facilitator of this meeting, so everybody can hear the message at the same time. Being that I said that, the board has not taken an official position on this issue. The goal of this meeting is for everybody to hear the information from the golf group, and that includes the board also hearing the information. We will have an opportunity to ask questions, and I'll go through some of those logistics. So the board of directors is not answering any questions tonight. We're going to listen and learn just like everybody else, and we will then have this as an agenda item on our next board meeting, which will be next Thursday, March 24th. And usually it's in the morning, but we have it here inside the clubhouse at 6 p.m. because we know people will attend. I want to thank everybody for being here, and especially some of our city officials that are also in attendance. The presenters will speak for 25 minutes. And we want to give them their really good attention like you're giving me. We know this is not the ideal venue for a business meeting, but we wanted to accommodate all these big numbers. So if you can listen carefully and be courteous to also the people around you so that, again, we can hear the message. Anybody who would like to ask a question or make a comment can start a queue after the 25-minute presentation or close to the end. You can start making a queue on that sidewalk, and this intercom or microphone to my left is going to be where you will talk into the microphone and ask your question or make your statement. We cannot move the microphones. They have to be in their stands so that, again, to control the noise level. Randall Morris of RM Strategies, based in Maitland, Engineering, based in Orlando, and they will be speaking on behalf of the golf group. And the golf group is the entity that owns the golf course, the clubhouse, the pool, the pickleball courts, and some ancillary other properties here. All of that stuff is not owned by the HOA. As many of us know, Bob Della Russo was the primary director of the golf group, and he passed away last year. So with that, I am going to hand it to Randall and David.
I'm giving away his score. Thank you all for being here, and I'm sorry that I can't see some of you because of the venue we're in, and it was difficult because of the overcrowding, the size of the crowd we had. We knew we didn't want to get into a fire marshal issue, so we're doing this al fresco. David and I have worked for years for the golf group. We've dealt with a number of golf course closings or sales over the years, and we are not here, we're not as pleased to be here as you might think we are. We're actually here for the purposes of telling you what the process would be that we're going to go through, which I'm going to explain, how we got here, one. Two, what the process we're going to go through. And then David's going to get up and go into detail as the engineer on the site plan itself that we're proposing. One of the things just to clear up that always happens, Mr. Delarusso had spoken to you, by the way, he passed away last summer, those of you may know that, and he died unfortunately of COVID, very suddenly and very unexpectedly. And Mr. Delarusso, many of you know, had spoken to you all through the years and spoken to your board and spoken to a number of members, but the members kept dwindling. And in your case, you made an extraordinary effort for Mr. Delarusso to have social members. And at one point you had 150 social members. Now there's just around 100. The social membership doesn't pay for the course, but it sustained it. It's important for you to understand that upon the death of Mr. Delarusso, the estate goes to his family on that side as an owner. And this is a business that's has been run, and many of you are aware, that it's been running at a loss. There's a mortgage that is not being paid. There's interest payments on that mortgage that are not being paid. Mr. Delarusso found this as one of his favorite courses he owned, and he kind of put his heart and blood into it. But the family has to move on. And sadly, we have studied the issue, and we believe we have development rights for this course. We have not, to clarify some rumors, we have not made any application with the city. We wanted to have this meeting before we did, out of courtesy to you all as homeowners. And to emphasize the point, we've met with the city. We've met with the past city manager, the current city manager. We met with the planners and the economic development individual. We decided that we talked to your board and said we'd like to meet with you all to talk with you. To clarify a couple of facts, this golf course currently is just shy of $8 million in debt. So if you all were to contemplate, maybe the HOA could buy it, or maybe a benefactor is out there who might buy it, you know the price is going to be 8 plus something. That would be to be negotiated. We have home builders who are very interested in building on this golf course. We have a proposal, as I said, that David's going to go through that will walk through the parameters of that golf course and where the legal rights we think we have in terms of developing it. The golf course itself, under the current planning, and I want to emphasize, nothing is written in stone at this point. Please hear me, I'm going to say it again. Nothing's written in stone. Depending on how things go in terms of the community, you all are owners, and your board, will determine the actions that we take. I want to repeat that. It's determined how things go with your board and the owners and here are the actions we take. Because of the losses of the golf course, upon making application to the city, which would be sometime within the next month, the golf course would be closing within 1 quarter, 3 months. We will give you 30 days notice before that happens. The issue then becomes, quickly to run through some questions that we've already heard, if the golf course is going to, part of it's going to remain as green space or parkland, would we try to maintain that during the period of our approval process going through the city? And the answer is to be determined. It would be determined based upon the relationship that we all have with the community and your board of directors. There was another question that was asked in terms of irrigation, that our irrigation is uniquely tied together with your irrigation. In fact, it pumps out of our pond and goes through the pumps that we maintain. Could we keep that maintained? The answer is absolutely yes. We will do everything to keep that maintained. Whether or not we maintain it on the golf course is to be determined. The proposal that we would have to you is to turn over this green space, which David will go into detail about, but then also to turn over to the HOA upon development, the clubhouse and all of the amenities in terms of pickleball, tennis courts, pool, all of that would be turned over to the HOA. Before we do that, we will show you, this is the proposal. We would also be able to show your board and your treasurer and any of you that are interested of what the finances are of operating this operation, which we know the clubhouse operates at a profit. We haven't determined if all of the other operations operate at a profit. I personally think they are, but I don't know that for a fact. So that would be turned over to you. And feel free when you get up for questions to come back to any of these points that I've made. I can try to be a little bit more specific. But I do want to repeat, before we close the golf course, you'd get 30 days notice. It probably is going to be in the quarter after our application, which will probably go in a month, within a month. There'll be a lot of activity, and I want to emphasize this, as we go forward with the application process with the city. It's a very legal process with the city, and we're not rookies at this. We've done this multiple times. I've represented a number of developers. I've represented HOAs. David has done the same. So we'll be very positive in the information that we give to the city and the process of how we interact with the city and you. Any documents that we turn into the city, we are going to try to forward to your HOA management. Any communications that you have with us, we will try to forward to your HOA management so all of you can hear these questions. There's not one person asking a question hearing one thing and another person asking a question hearing another thing. We'll do everything we can to to basically coalesce all that information so there's one source coming to you for information, which would be your HOA through your email communications with them. With that, David, are you? I probably took too much time.
It's hard for Randy not to take too much time. David Evans with Evans Engineering, like I was introduced, and I'm here obviously to kind of explain a little bit about what we do. We're civil engineers and land planners. Our methods for coming to community meetings, we do these quite regularly, is to gain information, to collect information from you so we understand a little bit more about your community, maybe some of the issues you might be having, because we're going to be looking at the possibility of adding new homes in your neighborhood, and we want to make sure that they don't distract from what you have but integrate. And it sounds like it would be because you got a beautiful golf course, and I love it, and I play golf, so I understand this. But at the same time, we do the best we can to help integrate this into your development, because this isn't really our choice. This is something that has to happen based on financial issues that Randy spoke about. So what we've done so far is had some meetings with the city like Randy spoke about. We've talked about what can happen here, what can't happen here. We've had some legal review of the documents that you guys are probably very familiar with, the ordinances that created the plan development or the PD that you have here in the city of Mount Dora. We've met with the city of Mount Dora staff. We've gone over those details and understanding what you can and can't do and how you have to go through the process to add new homes to this community. To do that obviously requires what's called a PD amendment, and that is taking the existing PD, showing a new plan with similar to what we showed, but again, this is a very preliminary work in progress. It looks better because it's all colored and on a board, but at the end of the day, it's a first attempt, and that just really kind of gives us some bullet points and some talking points with you guys, some research that has to happen. There'll be lots of activity on the golf course over the next coming months. Like surveys and people poking holes in the ground like geotechs and testing the soils and doing things that has to happen on any project that you do, including golf courses. So what we've done, and a preliminary statement, is that try to look at the open space areas of the golf course that are the widest and put the homes in those so we have room behind those homes to your existing homes. If you look at the plan, you'll see we've chosen this area over here primarily because that has the most area that isn't influenced by existing homes. We know that there's going to be influences at every single point because you're looking out over a nice open space now, which won't be there in the future. But at the end of the day, we try to keep the areas, the big open areas where we put the lots, so that in that case, we can do some buffering and some things around the perimeters to enhance the look, and so that it's not distracting as it would be if it was butt up to the back of your house on a fairway that was narrow. So we picked the wider areas. We picked the areas that had some, over here on the east side, there was two holes together, so we chose those two as one of the target areas. And what we've done on the plan, I know some of you have probably seen it, maybe not all of you. You can tell that the yellow is the new lots, and they have a dot on them. It's either a green dot or a red dot, and those generate the size of the homes that will be on each one of those types of lot. The red dots indicate the bigger, larger homes. Those are adjacent to bigger, larger homes that you already have. So we tailored the home sizes to the sizes that are already in your community. You have a lot of different sizes here. You have, the townhome size. You have the duplex on this side on the north and the east, on the west. And you also have some larger homes up at 100 feet wide or more. So we know that we try to pick the areas that have those existing size homes and put the same size adjacent to them, best we can. We also looked at our access points. We know that traffic is a big concern by an HOA. It always is. And so we picked up locations that had the least amount of intersections and new intersections from our project into that same one, and try to line them up so that instead of having an offset intersection, have a four-way intersection so you can get in and out easy. During this process, a lot of things happen, like Randy said, with the city. The city will require us to turn in environmental surveys. We've heard about some wildlife that we need to address, and we're willing to do that. This is, again, a fact-finding mission on our part, this meeting, but it's also the start of all the research and things that will go into how this actually works. Traffic studies, geotech studies, water quality studies, stormwater studies, we've already started. The utilities that you have in the community to make sure that we don't tax your system. If we do, we've got to upgrade it, change it, make it better. So we are willing to do that. At the end of the day, those studies get done during this period with the city. And as we go through that process, we learn more and more about it. So to our point, you kind of saw the plan. You have plenty of questions, I'm sure. We're glad to entertain any of those, so you can tell us what those are. And then we would also just remind you that we have a long way to go here. We have a lot more to say.
Tell them the percentage of green space and a number of houses capped.
Okay, so we know that there is a comprehensive plan by the city of Mount Dora. If you've heard that word before, it's the underlying base plan that generates the number of density that can be on any particular development. We know what the density is, the maximum density is here at City of Mount Dora for this property, which is 2.5 units per acre. So obviously, when we're running this through the City of Mount Dora, they're going to check and make sure we don't exceed that threshold. We're not in here to do that. We're in here to stay within those realms and those numbers based on what our new development would do, and we do. We've run those numbers. We've looked at your property. We've looked at what you have existing on the ground. We've looked at the ordinances, and we've totaled the numbers based on the land area and subtracted the areas you can't use in the calculation of density, like jurisdictional wetlands or undevelopable property, and we come in below the 2.5 units per acre. So we know that. Another two more factors in the City of Mount Dora. I won't bore you too much with all this because there's a lot of it, but one is the open space percentage and one is called impervious surface ratio. So open space percentage here in the City of Mount Dora is 35%, and then your impervious surface ratio maximum, which means the most pavement, roads, sidewalks that you can put on the ground, is 65% maximum. So we understand those two thresholds. We measured those based on the site plan that we put together. Those numbers are actually on that plan. There's tables on the bottom. Certainly welcome to walk you through any of those if you want more detail on that, but we, again, met those thresholds as well. Good?
A couple of other things is some of you will probably wonder what what builder we've selected. We have not selected a builder. We have several offers on the table from different builders. One thing that's critical for you to understand is any builder we have, you will be able to see elevations in advance. Elevations are what the home looks like from the front side and sometimes from the back side, but generally from the front side. These homes will be valued at or above any homes in this current development, period. That's a fact. The reason, some people might think, oh, they're going to build affordable housing. That's not going to happen unless the city were to make us build affordable housing, which I don't think their code allows. But the lot prices are going to be so high, it drives the prices of the homes. And that's why the home prices will be at or higher than any homes existing in the subdivision. The lots will be 60 to 80 feet wide. Most lots will be 60 feet wide. There's a handful of them that are mentioned, or with the dots there, that are 80 feet wide. We're going to take the cart path and we're going to expand the cart path. Is it 24,000? I think it's about a little over 20,000 or 24,000. I can't remember the number right now. That and by the way, remember what a mile is, so you'll be able to circumvent even better than you can now in your golf carts. It'll be a trail system in essence, through which is 24,000 linear feet, straight feet. That's the other offer, and then the green space, of course, will end up being greater than 50% of what will be built. So there'll be more green space left than what will be built on, including the roads. And then lastly, again, when we make application, we will forward this information. We'll tell you who the builder is going to be. We'll again give to your HOA and to the city elevations, so you can see the type of homes that are being built. You'll see a home builder doesn't want to come in and mix homes that aren't compatible with yours in terms of look. So you'll be able to see that too. Okay. So, okay, ma'am, you all have a chance to talk. And so why don't we go ahead and we're done talking. So if you all would, I believe it's a 3-minute time limit.
Yeah,
And any questions, please address them directly to us. And if you can also say your name, because some of the comments or questions, we want to at least reference a name to the question. Thank you.
All right, so again, if you have a question or a comment, if you will, whoops, I broke the rule. Actually, what I might do, I might move it up here. That might be better. If you want a question or a comment, make your way up like the people here, and then state your name, because we are taking notes, and we'd like to know who says what comment. And Bill will be timing. Thank you.
Lindley DeVille. My husband and I have lived here 20 years. Hi, everybody. They know us. Oh, okay. Okay. I kind of have two questions. The one is a clarification. Is it not true that the reason the asking price for this golf course is so expensive is because Della Russo absorbed so much of the debt of Gary Holmes?
There was the original Mr. Della Russo, as one of the owners, had an original purchase price for the golf course from them. Then over time, he actually added additional financing in to enhance certain parts of the course. As the membership declined, the original membership was forecasted to be, I believe it was up to 350 members. As the membership declined, went below 100, that augmentation of additional money, what they call calls. These are called calls. Twice a year there's a call. Yes, ma'am. And usually those calls occur in the wintertime. The golf course is easier to maintain because of the weather conditions, but people play it more, so there's more revenue coming in. In the summertime, the revenue declines dramatically, and that's when the calls occur. So yes, ma'am. And that's not an offer price, I said. I said that's the mortgage and debt, just to clarify, and it's just shy of $8 million. So any conversations about a purchase would be above $8 million, and they'd be in negotiation with the owners.
But it's all because of the original.
Yes, ma'am. That's how it started. Yes, that was the original mortgage.
Okay. And the second thing is just a question in general. I can tell this is a fait accompli. I'm not going to help, but what about the city of Mount Dora? Have they considered using the old golf course, which has no homes on it, for your development or a development? Amen. And pay you and save this as the best golf course in the city of Mount Dora? Amen.
Would you like to be a negotiator with us, with the city? We'll put you on the team immediately.
I've done this before.
Well, okay. We have not had that discussion with the city. We did have in discussions with the city, and we've not been before the commission. So we've only talked to the staff. We did have the conversation with them that they already own one golf course, as you all know, and they are not necessarily interested at this time in this one. So that part could be part of the conversation you would have with the city. We would go forward, and our public hearings are entitled to cover our application.
I will definitely attend. But the point is, do you think that is a possibility? Would your developers be willing to go over there as opposed to here? Is it a possibility?
I can't answer that question. I can tell you that, I can't answer that question because it's a hypothetical.
You're right.
But I can tell you it's all interesting. We're willing to look at anything.
Anything's a possibility.
Hello, my name is Rob Crawford. I've been a member here. Actually, I am the second oldest member here, but youngest. Put that in there. But I'm also the vice president of the Realtor Association of Lake and Sumter County. So I'm going to speak on 2 points. The first point is just a small correction, is that we were up to 515 social members. Based on, and I don't want my time to get up, and thank you for the applause, but based on people out here, sitting here, making sure they went door to door and knocked to make sure this club could survive. So please verify that it was 515. The next is, I don't know where we are today, but where we're going is crazy. The question is, I have this, and now I'm going to take off my Rouse cap because I have to make sure I protect the owners and the realtors of Lake and Sumter County, is that where are we on entitlements? Where are we on Lake County giving you roadways, expansion, retention ponds, right-of-ways for roads through other people's property? These are all things that have to come in the development. You can say the development part is between 8 and 12 million. The golf course is worth about 1.5 to 2 tops. And I know what the note is. The note is approximately about 3, even though she's put in a lot of money. So, that being said, everything you've said is great and wonderful, but you're not covering the topics of what the reality of the situation is where do we go from here? What are the opportunities for the owners that have households here, for the members that are members and support this club? And then number 2, what happens with Lake County giving you a lot that they have to give you before you can even think about developing this over the next 3 to 5 years? And then the city of Mount Dora being don't have entitlements, because we all know schools we don't have. So what are you going to do about that? So those are my questions, and I know it's a lot, and I appreciate you giving me the time, but there had to be a small correction there about the members. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it very much. All of the issues that Mr. Crawford just raised have to be addressed by the city. We don't go to Lake County for permission for anything, but in terms of that, but we do with the city, and all of that process, and David outlined all of that process that we go through. And just understand the seriousness of this commitment. This is not something that takes 3 to 5 years. We anticipate with the city it'll take us about 6 months. If it really was delayed, it would take 8 to 9 months. Just that's reality. Call them up, they'll tell you. The other reality is that we'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these studies that were mentioned. Hundreds of thousands. We have to, because we have to prove to the city, in terms of their code, as mentioned, the land development code, we have to prove to them that we have honored the commitment both from transportation, from what's called bugs and bunnies, which are flora and fauna, and with the protection of the wetlands and the protection of the river over here. And then, when there's the bugs and bunnies part, is we appreciate someone made us aware of the eagle's nest. We would have discovered that when we do the environmental studies. We also do geotech studies where you'll see them out in the golf course shooting, what do they shoot? the wells, what? Yeah, pedometer, shoot pedometer. I couldn't remember the name of the device. But anyway, it looks like they're going to develop something. They aren't. They're just doing a study. So all of that gets done, and it will be done in due course, and the city is going to be very thorough with us. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. But I do this for a living, as you do, and there's a lot more that has to happen what you just said. So thank you.
We'll also be doing a transportation study, too. That's also one of the things that are going to be in a big one.
All right, my name is Karen Jones. Many of you know me from my husband, Bob Jones, who unfortunately cannot be here because he is in the hospital. Hopefully over not agita over this thing. My question for you, developers, is the fact that you keep talking about a commitment to us. Our commitment is to keep the golf course and the club as we have it. That is the only thing we want here. And for you to say that bringing in all these homes and everything is going to, you're going to commit to us to have this special green space and everything, it doesn't mean anything to us. Quite frankly, we all bought into this as a golf course community. The people that are here from the lakes of Mount Dora bought into this as a golf course community. And there are many people here because their developer is selling their homes as easy access to a golf course. So that is our big concern here. You can build houses wherever you want, but not here. Why would you want to eliminate our golf course, which is not as bad financially as you want us to believe it is?
Go, Karen! Woo! Good girl. Good girl. She won.
Okay, we'll keep moving on since there's no response.
Nice going. As they look down.
My name is Mel Gearing. I was a part of the 2017. I was a part of the 2017 membership drive with Bill Wagner, okay, Norm Wagner, and many other people in this community. Okay, and I agree with the last person to talk. There was over 500 memberships in this, so don't give us this crap of 100. Okay, clear that up right now. My question: I live over on the east side of the country club, where I'm facing the lakes of Mount Dora. Okay, their construction, with their noise, their dirt, and their dust. How do you plan on mitigating that when you're 100 feet away from existing homes? That's question one, okay? I want to know how you plan on doing that. Duration of construction, from beginning to end, with building materials in such short supply across the United States. How long is this going to last, if you're fortunate enough to ever get this through the city? What are the prices of the homes going to be? What's the range? We're worried about home values here, okay? And if anything else doesn't come to pass from the standpoint of you being successful, remember 800 residents here, 400 at least, a lot of time on their hands. When we go out there on the street with protest signs, say, you're not welcome, stay out, how long are you going to sell?
Again, I apologize for the numbers I was given on the social members. I was given the number 150. Okay, it was an incorrect number. I apologize. I also was told the current number is just over 100. I don't know. I'll have to verify that too. We appreciate the effort you made, but also hear what I said. Those didn't raise the numbers enough to pay off the debt. This is an organized business. Okay, this is a business operation. And please understand, the golf course is going to close unless somebody buys it.
There you go.
That's a fact.
Somebody buys it.
Hi, my name is Sharon Smith White. I've been here for 26 years.
Close to the microphone.
I'm curious about the cart paths. You talk about the cart paths being expanded. What about when they're on private property?
What we've done on this plan so far, and you may have seen it, you may not, it may be kind of hard to see because it was hard to see for me, but there's some red dash lines and some orange dash lines. Those indicate existing cart paths and proposed cart paths. All of the proposed cart paths will be in the new development area on the golf course. And wherever the existing are, there's already easements through those properties for those cart paths. Yep. Right, and so we're waiting for title work to come back and survey, but we're intending on keeping as much of the existing cart paths as possible to give you that pathway that Randy spoke about 20,000 feet of cart paths, so you can get from one end to the other and through the neighborhood. If there's discrepancies in the legality of a cart path on a property owner's home, we can remove that.
Why do we want a cart?
We'll remove
We
that.
don't have a golf
Yeah.
cart.
It's been there for 26 years.
Is that the end of the line?
I'm Stan Austin, and I've only been here for 8 months. I also live over on Edgewater. A couple questions I've got. The main thing I've got a concern about, because I've already been through this from Fort Lauderdale. Golf course got closed down. Pulte bought it, and they spent months and years taking all the soil off and putting all the soil back on. So my question to you is, on the soil test, you're going to find out that it's probably 3 to 4 feet. It's going to need to be removed and replaced. But on the green space that I guess you're going to deed over to the HOA or deed over to the city or whatever, who's going to make sure that that's okay as well? That's one question. Another question is, it's an environmental question. Another question is, if you're going to bring in, one thing I'd love to see, and maybe this is more of a question for our HOA board, but please put this up on the HOA website so we can take a better, closer look at it and any information as far as questions are concerned. Natural gas and high-speed fiber. I don't know about the rest of you, but my cable really stinks. Natural gas is at the road, high-speed fiber is at the road. As a part of this process, a real good brownie point for us would be if you could bring that into us and let us have some natural gas here and some high-speed fiber.
We don't want it if you're not gonna leave the golf course. That's right.
But my main concern is the environmental.
The environmental study will cover that issue that you had. And also, we are not the developers. We are the property owners who will be selling to a developer. What will happen in this process is there'll be a development order that would go with the approval of the project. The number of homes will be capped. The development approval order, the DO, development order, will cover all of the obligations of that developer, that home builder who would be coming in. That home builder then also would have to comply with all other city regulations regarding this. That is not what we deal with. We do not deal with the build out of the development. We deal with the sale of the property. Oh, and we also are, the HOA board did tell me that they're putting this on the website, the drawing that we currently have. This is the proposed drawing. Based upon some of the things we hear tonight and what we hear in the coming days, we may change certain aspects of this, adopted to certain thoughts that we might hear.
One other quick question, and that's probably, again, more directed to the board. I'm making the rash assumption that the HOA current covenants and rules and restrictions will also go to these new developments.
Any requirement of our sale to a builder would require them to join your HOA board. They may have a separate HOA for themselves. They would then be under a master with you all, or they may determine to go directly to your board. So their homeowner dues would pay for the increased maintenance costs. That would be when you pick up the green space, which could be converted into parkland or active passive park, whatever you all wanted to do in your own planning going forward. That's a fairly significant, and again, I could be wrong on this because I've already been wrong on one figure. I understand that you pay something like $900 a year in dues, something like that. And so just think that when you have 230 odd homes with times 900, do the math, that's what would be kicked into your HOA.
But why? We don't have a golf course. We
I'm not saying it's a wow, I'm just letting you know. He asked the question, I'm answering his
lie
question.
and liars figure. Come on.
Okay, let's be courteous and listen and not be rude. Thank you. So we'll keep going on with the questions and comments.
Hey folks, my name's Curtis Regroot. I live on Edgewater Drive. My wife and I moved here last fall, and excited to be here. Up front, sure, I certainly much prefer to see this golf course remain, recognizing there are a lot of people in the community as well that don't play golf. Minimally, if it wasn't going to be a golf course, I'd love it to just be open space. I'm here just to talk a little bit because we came from a community in upstate New York that went through this a few years ago with a golf course. Collaboratively, the community worked with the town, and the town's assessment in trying to, one, increase the amount of green space they maintain, but also they recognized the stress that the development on the golf course would have put on the community in the way of utilities, traffic, school districts, and so on and so forth. Oftentimes, I found in my life that when challenges are presented, how we approach them, if we choose to, there's opportunity. And I think the opportunity here is for us as a community to work collectively, jointly with the town perhaps, and with our adjacent community, and consider purchasing the property. We then have control over it, and whether we're able to maintain it as a golf course, or as in my community, they retained the property and are developing it into open green space, walking and bike paths that are benefiting the entire community. So I think there's opportunity here for us as a community if we work together at it. And that's really just what I wanted to present to all of you. It's just the concept. I have a lot of ideas like you do, too many to share here today in 3 minutes, but I'm willing to share them, as we move forward. But again, I hope we can all be open to the opportunities, whatever they may be. And that's just what I wanted to encourage you on. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Russell Douglas, Little Ridge Drive. I got a question to ask you. You guys were dancing around, looking at, explaining this and that and the other thing, yada, yada, yada. What's going to happen to our homes? What's going to happen to the retired people that are living here? What are you going to do when you start developing? Oh, we'll offer you next to nothing for your house. And they're going to be out on the damn street. What are you going to do? We just moved here in September. Why are you guys doing this? I'll tell you what, I'm going to call to my fellow veterans. We can use our VA business loans to buy this golf course so you developers won't come in here and destroy this place. Flat out, gentlemen. That's it. That's it. Developers are not wanted here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody, for staying nice and courteous and calm. I know this is a passionate subject, and we appreciate that everybody is listening, so we'll move on.
Hi, I'm John Kaltenbach. We're on Laurel Ridge. We've been here for about 1.5 years. My question is, in new developments, typically there might be what's called an SSA that new homeowners have to pay as an additional tax. And my question is would that be part of new owner where they'd have to pay as the SSA on top of whatever proposed taxes might be on the residents to help the current homeowners not have any additional taxes for all the new development and roads and everything else that have to go in?
No. The new homes would pay impact fees to the city for whatever impact fees they charge. They would pay for any school impact fees, but they don't give any direct contribution to another homeowner. Under-
No, well, an SSA being a special service area?
No, we're not setting up a special taxing district here.
Okay.
Now, if, I can tell you, if you all look up Deer Run Golf Course, we handled that one. And that Deer Run Golf Course was closed. And they believed we weren't going to close it. We closed it. The county and the homeowners came together. Homeowners taxed themselves for fairly minor tax. I think it was $90 a year, variable rate, but somewhere around averaging 90 for a period of, I think it was 15 years. And then the county also bought the golf course. So there was a special taxing district up there. That is now, you can go on the website of Seminole County, look up Deer Run Golf Course or Deer Run, it's gonna be a park now, and you can see what's being developed there. That would be an example of what you just said as a taxing district. There's TIFs, tax instrument financing districts, there's all kinds of things you could look at, and I'd be happy to chat with about the various options that can happen. But each one would be a taxing district for the whole community, not just for the new homes.
So there's still potential that there could be additional taxes on existing homeowners for the development of...
No,
Okay.
no. That would have to be voted by the homeowners. This is not some mandatory thing the city can do to you. We don't have anything to do with it. It would be a regulatory action by the city. And if you do, in the case of Deer Run, they voted overwhelmingly to do that, because they wanted to design a park that they wanted to have instead of a moribund golf course.
When you stand up to the microphone, I know it's hard to get it where you can actually talk really closely into it, but I do want everybody to be able to hear the question, so if we can try and be successful.
Mouth.
There we go. That might, yeah. Okay, yeah.
That's what an engineer can do.
Barry Crosby, resident. Barry Crosby, I'm a resident, also serve on the Finance Committee. This is more of a statement as a resident, has nothing to do with the Finance Committee, although it's finance. You had mentioned the possibility of deeding the clubhouse, the pool, the pickleball courts, et cetera, to the existing HOA. There's upkeep and maintenance of all the things that they are possibly deeding over. So if that were to occur, if the board were to accept those, I would assume that there would be additional costs based on higher than what we are currently paying. And the gentleman just mentioned, he heard our number was about $900 annually, which is correct. I would assume that that number would have to rise because we have to maintain heat, lights, repairs, et cetera. So it's just a thought, a statement. Thank you.
And I did address that, sir, Mr. Crosby, I did address that when I said we would turn over financing to you all. You all could see our books, so you can see what the costs are. I don't know that they would operate, if this operates at a profit or not.
I wasn't suggesting that, sir. My only statement was, if this is turned over to us, we have to pay the heat, the lights, the pool maintenance, the pickleball maintenance.
Right, but I don't know if that's already covered already. In other words, does this operate at a balance? Does the revenue from the restaurant and the bar generate enough? We don't know that answer.
Well, who says that the HOA is going to start a restaurant or a bar?
Sir, well, then here's what this is an offer. We're trying to keep it open for you. If not, it will close with the golf course.
No, I was just stating...
That's what would happen. We would close it too.
I was just stating a fact that if we were to accept this property, which I'm not saying is good, bad, or indifferent, all I'm saying is if we did accept it, we as homeowners have to realize that there will be some additional costs, I assume.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know. But there's a possibility. That's all I was stating, was bringing that forward. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara A. Bear. I live on
Howdy. Start over.
Okay. So I've was wondering, how are we going to get in and out of this place? We have one entrance. We have the orange groves that are already supposedly being built, which have been sitting there for months now. We have a medical center that's blocking another thing. We have a very small emergency exit that's one way, and as we know from an accident on 441, we had a very hard time getting in and out of here. Amen. So how do you propose that we are going to have a hurricane safety situation to get in and out of this neighborhood?
Again, you will have a traffic study being done. The traffic study will have to meet the requirements that the city is asking us to do in terms of how broad the study will be and the number of trips they're called trips, that are generated per home. And that would all have to be rationalized to the city. The city will have an opportunity. They will have an opportunity to study it. You will have an opportunity in public hearing to refute it. These traffic studies are done and complied to by Florida statute. So you'll see how this works.
And how long do you think that's going to take? I mean, you're
It would have to
talking
be part of our
about taking over this in 6 to 8 months, that you're going to start developing.
No, ma'am. I did not say that. What I said was 6 to 9 months in the development process through the city. All of those answers will come, like the traffic study, will come during that period of time. So you'll be able to see them publicly about what the amount of traffic that will be generated, and then any delays that will cause getting onto 441, and any other internal movements. It depends on how far we go with the traffic study based upon what the city requires. But all of that will become public record, and you can go refute it at that time. I can't give you the answer right now. We haven't made application to the city yet.
Good.
I'm Barbara Tietmeyer. I live on Greenbrier. And we just moved here last November because our golf course closed in Apollo Beach. So we've been there.
Put it to your mouth.
I'm speaking.
I know, but hold it on your mouth or on your lip, on your chin.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. We just moved here last November because our golf course closed in Apollo Beach. So we've kind of been through this. My question to you is the owner willing to entertain any offers from the residents of the country club to buy it?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we did, and we were also asked to give a qualifying number that it would not be below. I gave it a not below. I didn't give you the range of what would be acceptable.
Way too high.
So I did give the original number of what the debt was.
That's the debt,
That's right. That's correct.
and that's all, that's our asking price?
Well, no, it's not what we're asking for. I mean, you're good. We need you on our team on the negotiating side. Again, you're another one. But no, ma'am, it would be something we would consider. We would not negotiate with individual residents. We would negotiate with your board, or if one of the members here wanted to buy the golf course.
Okay,
But we're happy to discuss any of those options with you.
okay.
That makes it a lot easier for us.
It certainly does. And my next question is, in the event we are unable to purchase it as a equity group or as some entity within the country club, is there any way to delay the closing so that it would not close in the next 30 to 60 to 90 days, as opposed to maybe closing after approval has been obtained from the city, so that it doesn't close unnecessarily while it's a profitable golf course?
Ma'am, I've already explained it's not a profitable golf course. That's the first part. You may think it is, but it's not. It's certainly not to the owners. It's the same. So the answer that I gave on that was, we have talked about that. We will continue to talk about it. The decision to close it, most likely, as I said, will be in the quarter after we make application, the 3 months after we make application. So that's possibly 4 months if we make application the next month. That's the first part. The second part is, if we are to keep it open, the golf course open, then that carries a loss with it. That is something we'd be happy to discuss with your board in terms of keeping it open, if the board would help us finance that to keep it open. In other words, it's a business that's losing money. So, in other words, we potentially, even if the other issue, I know we covered a lot real fast there, but we also talked about, even if we closed it, could we keep it maintained at a higher level than a closed golf course would be? You know, with 12-inch high grass and critters moving in and all that. We also discussed that. We'd be happy to discuss that with your board. So there's a lot of options on the table. But I can tell you, it's going to be very hard for me to convince the owners that if you all are totally opposed to everything we're doing, well, then let's find kindness and figure out a way to make this work. Well, that's the reality. So if we're talking and communicating in a positive fashion and moving forward, the answer is I'll work my butt off to do that. However, I will tell you that these have costs associated with them. So open-minded we are, if you're open-minded.
And I know my time's up, but just real quick, do you have a duty to maintain the golf course until it's developed?
No, ma'am. We would have to comply with the city code in terms of maintenance of a vacant property.
Thank you. Richard Hurley. I noticed looking on the plans, and this is more a question to planning and zoning and to the town council. I looked on the plans and I noticed that there will be ponds and lakes filled in and roads that will be in the location where there are now ponds and lakes. So my question, I know this is being videotaped, to the town council on planning and zoning, what do you think about filling in ponds and the natural ecology to build a road and houses? So that is directed to you. That's directed to planning and zoning. The second question or comment that I'll make is that if this clubhouse and golf course cash flows through the summer and the fall and the winter, isn't that the most important thing to keep it open?
Yes.
I see your eyebrows squinting. If the green fees and food and beverage cash flows month to month, isn't that a reason to keep it open? Because if you close it, you've got zero.
Is it positive? You have to have it positive.
Something's better than nothing.
I'll say it again. If the property positively cash flows month to month through the summer and the season, why would you close it when it would create a zero situation? You would lose everything.
The issue that Mr. Della Russo told you about over the last couple of years, the issue that I just told you about again tonight, it doesn't positively cash flow when it's not paying the debt off. The business, the intent, Mr. Della Russo is not here to finance this for you anymore. He's gone. I'm under instructions from the owners to liquidate the asset. That's the bottom line. So
But you didn't answer the question.
I did answer the question.
If it positively cash flows, why would you close it?
If it positively cash flow, but it's not, no mortgage or interest is being paid right now on this debt. Zero.
Well, that's not responsible.
That's a true, I mean, that's the fact.
But that didn't answer my question. If it positively cash flows through the summer and the fall, why would you close it?
Right.
If it were to magically cash flow, then we wouldn't have to close it.
Thank you.
Who are the current owners?
Della Russo family.
No.
Totally?
You sure his friend isn't a co-owner?
Is it just mother and
I just
daughter?
answered you the question. That's the answer to the question. Pull the tax rolls and you'll find out. If you don't believe me.
Oh, bad news. That wasn't good.
I'm Darwin Baston, and we're about to move on Laurel. At least I hope so still. I have a question to follow up on the finances. Just so we all understand very clearly, the amount of debt that is owed is $8 million. Huh? Just shy. All right. how much of that is accrued interest and how much of it is principal? Huh?
I couldn't tell you right now what is interest or principal.
Really?
No, I couldn't tell you right now.
Okay.
I didn't come here to discuss the
No, no,
private finances of the club.
Well, no, but we're here to discuss the opportunities and possibilities
I
that
will-
we as a group may be able to buy the thing.
And
What I'm trying to get to is, what is the buyout number? There is a
There
number
is no
that's
buyout
been
number.
talked
There
about.
is no buyout number.
There has to be.
So they expect to get all of the accrued interest, which is the bulk of all of the $8 million
Right.
in debt.
Right.
They expect to get paid back for that.
Because Bobby didn't make any
Sir,
payments.
I'm not here to negotiate this with you. If you have a group that is interested, as I've said before, I'll say it again. If you have a group that's interested, if your HOA is interested, if there's any individual benefactors, a group of people, we will happily sit down and talk to them. That's not the purpose of this meeting.
Okay, I'm not.
I appreciate what you're saying, though. I appreciate what you're saying.
Well, I'm not trying to negotiate. I'm trying to get information so that we would all know. Because if the number happens to be 4 million or 3 million, that most of it is accrued interest in all the past and they write that off, then we may be able to purchase this golf course
No, sir.
at a very reasonable price.
No, sir. No, sir. That's,
Okay,
let me help you with I'll give you an answer.
Okay.
The owners of the property have already looked at legally what their development rights are. They know that they can sell this property for significantly more than the debt and interest that have accrued. So you're saying, oh, don't go with your rights, your legal rights, that they could pursue through the city and beyond, and instead that you want to negotiate them down from what the current debt is. That's why I said the number would start north of 8.
So this is an opportunistic move on the part of the current owners that they're owed 8 million. So they're going to develop it so they make a fortune beyond the 8 million.
Fortune.
Off of the,
I don't know. They'll make a fortune, but they make something. Huh?
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Who's the owner?
Della Russo's.
I'm Richard Harry. I've been a member for 20 years.
Good for him.
I have two questions. One comes from a conversation that I had in the committee meeting with Bob Della Russo. He made the comment that this course was not part of the group, that it was only owned by him when he took over the mortgage. So if that's the case, who are we dealing with? Are we dealing with Diane, or are we dealing with the group?
Right.
Who do you represent?
Good question.
I represent, and we will be taking this through the process, the group. And that's in behalf of the owner.
So you have power of attorney for the owner?
No. Representing does not mean power of attorney of anyone.
Okay, so you're saying you've talked to her and you've told her you're holding this meeting, and you are then going to go back to her and tell her what happened at this meeting?
Exactly.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Bull crap. And the daughters.
Robert Damon, I live in Laurel Ridge Drive. I have a comment. It was a question, not a comment. You mentioned that you're doing a traffic study. I was wondering what type of plans are you integrating with the Florida Department of Transportation, knowing they're doing the 441 project as we speak?
He lives here.
And also that goes to those representative of the Mount Dora. Because besides the 284 houses that be built here, you still have other traffic flows and traffic problems with going on, unlimited and everything. And of course, I made a comment that to try to make a left-hand turn or try to go north on 441 from Lockneck Shopping Center is almost impossible.
With a price, my concern is I would love to sell property all day long based on what a homeowner or a business has lost in their endeavor and base that as my purchase price to start with. Is the seller willing to work with the appropriate professionals and appraisers to come up with a realistic, because we're held a bit hostage by this random number that's being thrown out, minimum 8 million because of the current debt that has accrued, as you indicated, from the seller taking additional loans against the property to do what he felt he needed to do or wanted to do. Now, at this point, we're held hostage at the whim, and it seems as though it's a whim of the seller to gain back what they've lost. And again, I'm a real estate agent. I would love to sell homes for people based on the market, what they've lost because of what they paid and what the current market is adjusted to. At what point can we expect the seller to present a realistic number based on comparable properties?
And I really appreciate how you phrased the question, and thank you for that. The seller will not be giving you a realistic number of any offer for purchase. The seller believes that they have development rights, and the development rights will dictate the value of the property. However, that being said, that's why I gave that number, that initial number, that they need to be made whole in their minds. If they develop the property and are successful developing the property, then they'll make more money than that. So does that make sense to you? In other words, it's a business proposition, and I'm sorry, I wish I could say something else. Like, could we just get rid of this golf course for $3 million? Not when they believe they have development rights. Not when the city will have to study those development rights. The city will have to make a determination. And then the full course of your realtor, I assume, a broker? Or a salesman? A realtor. You're a realtor. So you understand how this works. You know how development works. You know what development rights are. You know what the Byrd-Harris Act is. You know all of these things would start to click in.
Okay, my confusion then is the seller, the developer, or you had said they were putting out offers to local builders?
Local builders who are the
So
developer.
are
The builders who would bid on this will drive the price of the product.
Will they purchase the property from the seller?
Yes. The seller will not be a developer.
When will we know what the bid is for the other developers so that we might compete with that?
That's a really good question.
Yes.
That, I will tell you what, I will get back to your HOA board and management on that as promptly as I can.
Good answer. Yeah,
Can't give you an answer. I don't have the answer.
I'll circle back.
Hi, I'm Ron Jenkins. I've had a house on the development since 2002. I'd like some clarity about what I thought I heard. I thought I heard you say that if the HOA are not interested in this building and the pickleball courts, etc., that this would close at the same time as the golf course. Did I hear right? And is that then that the HOA have got to decide within 3 months whether they're interested in this?
Good question.
What I said was we would do our best to keep this open. We haven't run the financials on keeping all of this open here. We would do our best to keep this open during the approval process through the city. If the project were approved by the city, we would turn this over to the HOA.
If the HOA wants.
Title free, for free. Title free, no purchase price. Then don't forget that if this does not operate at a complete profit because you're supporting it with your HOA dues, then the new members also that would be coming on, the homes being sold, would also be supporting that too because they'd be required to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Obviously, I didn't quite hear correctly then. There's going to be more time than 3 months. Or
Absolutely. On that aspect, however, that's if we were in accord with your HOA board going forward. Now, your HOA board may oppose us, which means we wouldn't be in accord. And by the way, I think it was Churchill who said the only problem with the Americans and the Brits is that they share a common language. Yeah.
But don't forget Churchill was born in America.
Yeah, I love him. He's my hero.
Pull it down.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Just hold it. Just hold it.
Okay, pull it down. Okay, and then there. Michelle Drinkola. Can you hear me? Michelle Drinkola, St. James. Closer. Okay, so I guess my name, I told you, Michelle Drinkola. Call me Dents from here on. But I have not understood what happens to this golf course. The way I hear it or see it, it's a private property. It's a private owner. She can do whatever in the hell she wants with this place. She doesn't need your approval, my approval, or anyone else's consideration for what she does with her property. So she is at, I guess we're assuming this is a consideration we're being given. However, no consideration needs to be given to any of us, and she will, in the long run, do whatever the hell she wants.
Right.
And so my question is, I guess, okay, developer, non-develop, do this, do that, turn to Coney Island, the South, do whatever we want to do with this piece of property. But the fact is, if she chooses, she could just shut this place down, and then it goes to seed. I have seen several developments in the South this happen to. And I guess my question is, regardless of whether her house goes up behind me, if in fact she chooses to shut the place down, when I look at my backyard, I now have a gorgeous, incredible view. And by going to see a golf course, having gone to seed, which in fact she has the absolute right to do. So is that my expectation? And we haven't talked about whether or not, whether we sell it, whether we do whatever do with it. Are we shutting the place down?
No.
Because it appears to me that she's going to close this, whether or not it gets bought, developed, or whatever the hell else happens to it.
Boo.
So, can you help me with that? What is my view going to look like?
Right. Well, I don't know what your view is right now, but it sounds like it's pretty nice. I lived on a golf course too that closed, so I know what that's like. The Winter Springs golf course. The golf, if we close the golf course, let's call it in the next 4 months. If we close the golf course.
5 years.
And if we most likely we would, depending on what
They are
occurs.
going to, and she has a right.
Well, I understand. I'm with you. And whenever the golf course, if the golf course stayed open while we were going through the development process, and we were able to work something out with your board to keep it to keep it open, then that's one thing. Maintain it to such a degree that it doesn't go to complete seed. That's the second part of the question. Again, if we could work with your HOA and you all work with us, the answer is yes, we could do that. But that's all thing for me to
And
say
they
to you
have
all.
been very cordial.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, this lady lives on our street. No kidding.
My name is Carol McNair, Stafford Springs, been here since 1993. Okay, so I'm kind of going to be re-chewing everything that the last couple of people said. That was my question, is the timing on this. What is your timeline? Are you telling me, you just said 4 months, so you're telling us in 4 months the course will be closed?
What I announced to you earlier was, and that's why I just used 4 months because we were doing the math. If we make the application within 1 month, within 3 months after the application, that's an if because there's still some issues, then we would close the golf course within 3 months. We would give you 30 days notice that it was closing. That's a courtesy, and I know it's not much of one, but it's one. And two, then if it were to close and we were to keep it at a higher maintenance level, because we believe one day it would be turned over to you, and we had worked that out with your board, we would do that based upon a workout with your board. I can't commit to that now. It's an offer. We also could keep it open for a year if the board knows we're able to work it out.
Okay, so all these surveys and, I don't think I'm using the right word, that were going to happen, do you make those happen or does the developer make those happen?
No, in this case, we make this happen. We will be getting everybody on board to do this. That would also occur within the next 30 days.
That will happen.
Within the next 30 days.
Okay. And will you truly take into consideration the things that people have brought up today?
Which things did they say?
So you'll...
Some things I'll remember very well.
You'll be
but-
selective. You'll be selective.
Well, no, we would do everything we can. Our job is to try to work as best with you homeowners as we can.
But as the woman before me said, basically, Mrs. Della Russo has every right to sell the land, and that's how it's going to happen, period, right?
Well, if she can't sell it for development, then it's not going to operate at a loss, and she'll close it.
Okay, thank you.
Then we'll go to C. It's like she closed Rock Springs.
My name is Ron Jakubiak. I live in Spring Creek Court, and my comments are to the owners more than anything else. But I may be wasting my breath because from the sounds of it, the decision may have already been made.
Amen.
I live in a golf course community, and unfortunately, my wife and I both laugh because we live here We have a summer home in a golf course community. Neither one of us play golf. But the fact is the golf course community we live in went through the same process about 10 years ago. The owners got together and bought the golf course and have successfully operated the golf course in $1 million building for the last 8 years. There was the same fears that we're going through here that at some point we were going to have, because on top of everything else, we were dealing with a bank, that they were going to walk away from the property, which would have meant nothing would have been maintained. The owners got together, legally formed a corporation, bought the property. It's run by an owner's board of directors, and it's done very successfully. A golf course, one of the premier golf courses in Georgia. So if there is any opportunity to do that, I tell the owners there is history for other people being able to do that. And it can be done, even though you may think having a board of directors of owners would be nightmares, but it's better than the alternative.
Hi, my name's Kurt Umholtz. I live in Park Forest. My question is, you've talked a lot about the owner's rights, and I do believe in property rights. That Burt Harris rule I actually don't think applies because that rolls both ways. But moving forward, what about our rights? I have a warranty deed, if I read the proper one, that was dated in 2004, and everybody else here does, that includes the golf course as part of the subdivision, all 120 acres, 170 acres of homes, 60 acres of road, 40 acres of holding ponds, etc. And it guarantees that there shall only be 827 homes in this subdivision that has that amount. It also says that the minimum width of each one is 80 feet, and you're proposing 60 feet. I have not had an opportunity to look at your drawing, but you had said 60 feet. So our rights on that, I think, hold some value, and the planning and zoning has to look at that, because my warranty deed has to be of some value. And along with everybody else's here, the other thing is I'm a home builder. I'd like to have your team, because I've never gotten anything through the city of Mount Dora at the speed in which you're talking about getting done. But the other thing is all the wetlands that are here are 30-year-old wetlands. I can't build within 50 feet of them for a single-family home for somebody that owns the pond, yet you're going to put a road over it? I mean, I know you're doing your job and you have engineers that say that you can, but everything I know about building and developing, and I've been in this business for 38 years, not at the level you are, I don't see it. And I go back to our rights, because we all signed that piece of paper when we bought. Now, the thing is it sounds like the gentleman a couple steps back, I would love that opportunity too. I've built a spec house or two and not been so successful. I'd love the opportunity to step back, regroup, and say, well, I got to have this. And it seems to me that there's a lot of people here that would like the opportunity at least to discuss it, but perhaps no one forced them to buy the golf course. No one forced them to be a member of the golf course or to purchase it. That was a business they chose to purchase, which is intertwined, unfortunately, with our homes. And the other thing is, when you were talking about the ratios of the 240 houses and the percentages, the 30%, the 35%, are you limiting that to the 120 acres that you own, or are you using the 437 acres of the entire subdivision to get to that? Because if you are, you're using our property to get to your numbers. You should be on your private property only allowed to use your 120 acres, and by my math, it gives you 25 acres of usable property, following the exact same ratios that are in the country club, which included the 437 acres. Thank you.
Great. It's a great series of points you raise, the accuracy of which you can raise again at the public hearings, and the board will have to determine who's right. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just reading my warranty deed.
I understand your interpretation of your warranty deed. Our lawyer has a different feeling.
Do you know what they were? And I'm going to.
I'm not going to debate it with you, sir. I just said, I respect what you said. I really respect what you
Were
said.
they changed since '04? That was my only question.
It'll be in the public.
What is your name?
What's your name, man?
Kurt Umholtz.
Yeah, I didn't write it down.
Thank you.
Way to go, Kurt!
It looks like there's only 2 more individuals that have questions or comments. So again, our time is good. If you have any last things you want to communicate, come on up, and then we'll adjourn the meeting as quick as we can.
Got 4, 3.
Kurt Regroot again. I'm kind of a numbers guy, so I like to play with the numbers sometimes. If I use a number of $10 million, the affordability per household in the community comes out to about $12,500. So if that was the number that was the right number and acceptable to purchase the property, I guess the question we have to ask ourselves is, and some of us may not be able to afford that. Some of us here can afford more than that. If we combined again with folks of interest at Lakes of Mount Dora, it may be feasible. I just wanted to throw that number out because when you think of it in that perspective, it may not be as challenging as we might think. Thank you.
Way to go. I will.
Lynn Thatcher. I live on St. James. I've lived here since 2001. And it's true. When we bought our houses, we paid a lot premium to have that golf course. And I was saying, that lot premium wasn't really worthless. Now we're going to change it. So that takes away our value, and that's not fair. The other thing is we have a PUD. Planned Urban, and it says exactly what can happen in here. That is a legal document with the city. In order to change that, I'm imagining that the city and everything would have to approve to change it. Right now, our density is 1.88 under that PUD. You're changing it right away. I said on your second to over 2. So you're changing the density. You're changing a lot of things that are in that PUD. I don't know if we have to approve it, the citizens. Just the city, planning and zoning? City council. Okay. The other thing I noticed on the other golf courses that they've closed, because this is kind of what they do. This is their business model. In 2015, the city of Castleberry did purchase Castleberry Golf Course from Mr. Delarusso for $2.2 million. In 2016, the city of Oviedo purchased the Twin Rivers Golf Course for $5 million. He closed Rock Springs Ridge in 2014.
Yeah.
And as he said, Deer Run and everything, Deer Run got really run down, and it said that's why it's a park and not a golf course anymore, because they let it get to just wilderness towards the end. We don't want that to happen here. We need it maintained up until the end, so that if we want it to continue being a golf course, we need to make sure that it's still maintained as a golf course and doesn't get to be tumbleweeds. I've lived in areas in Orlando and everything that just were beautiful homes, and all of a sudden the golf course closed, and all around Longwood and that area, and they're not beautiful and it's hard to sell. So this, while it affects Mrs. Delarusso's property, it affects all of ours. All of our property values will go down.
Her wallet.
So that was it. I'm hoping that we all can support and that we will let our city council know how we feel about this and not to change that PUD.
Well, the city was going to. She said that last night. Look, we got Donna there.
Hi, I'm Cliff Patterson. I just had a couple quick questions. One of the things I wanted to state was it looks like we have 485 social members. 485 social members currently, is what I'm told. Just so you want to verify that. And then the question. I'm just curious, has there been an offer for the golf course outside of the idea of developing it? No offers.
They don't know. They don't want to know.
Just curious, so there's been no offers so far for the golf course, correct? Okay. I'm curious why you guys did, or if you're representing the golf group, why you guys didn't approach us initially to even consider the fact that we might want to buy it.
Yeah, good
approach
way
the
to go,
HOA.
Cliff.
The fact that we're holding this meeting, the fact we haven't made application yet,
Okay.
is an initial approach.
Okay.
So your initial approach is to develop it, not,
No, to tell you what the rights are, and so we haven't even made an application yet. Nobody does this. Nobody goes before an HOA group. Nobody I know. We've never done it before. You know, I'm sorry, but we don't do this in advance. You generally do this, and we're doing this as a volunteer basis, voluntarily basis, and we aren't even required to do this. We're trying to be courteous, and so we are here before we've made an application. The answer is yes, we are here.
I'm just curious why you didn't come to us before you went to the trouble of creating a plot. I mean, why didn't you just come to the board and say, hey?
Then you'd say you'll never get a development.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't believe us.
You're
I mean,
right.
most people, there's people in this audience right now that don't believe we're going to close the golf course. That's what happens. We've done this before.
Yeah.
You're a money grab.
I'm just.
It's a capitalist country. I'm sorry about that.
No, I understand that. I understand your rights. I was just curious as to why you jumped out in front of all this with a development as opposed to just doing the easy thing, which is, hey, HOA, you guys want to buy the golf course?
Because we've done this before, and I can guarantee you that you would have said it's worth $2.5 million, like somebody earlier said. That's what a golf course is worth now. You can't sell them. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about what a golf course is worth. We're talking about the development rights as an individual says. I've repeated this about 4 or 5 times. I'll do it again. We'll come back and talk to you again a month from now if you want us to, or 2 months from now. We'll come back 2 or 3 times if you want us to. We'll answer additional questions as this thing evolves. It's a different issue. You're thinking only golf course. We're talking about development rights. I can talk to you privately, sir. I appreciate what you're asking them.
Hi, I'm Dawn Starling. I live on St. Ives, and I would like to know what you're going to do if the city does not approve this.
Amen. Thank you.
The golf course will be closed.
So she won't get any of her money back then?
The golf course will be closed.
Did this at Rock Springs.
My name is Steve Para. I handle or chair the security committee for this community. Sir, we appreciate you taking the time to be here. We know you're in a difficult position, and we understand what your interests are. We understand that the Burt Harris Act gives you certain rights. But we are 800, and we are now 829 homeowners in this community. We are an army of former movers and shakers. We are a lot of very successful people here with very fine minds. We made investments in this property. Those of us like myself who are directly on the golf course are going to be most affected by this. Right. We're going to lose our peaceful enjoyment of our homes and our tranquility. We're going to lose the bird song and the silence to development. What you may not be aware of is that we have an agreement with the golf club right now. This community is the gem of Mount Dora. As far as I'm concerned, we have almost a 0 crime rate in here. And the way that we accomplish that is, unless you're a patron and you're paying to be on this property for the golf club, we escort you out of here. If you come in here and you're on common element and you don't leave here, we escort you out of here daily. That's how we keep a nearly 0 crime rate in here. If you close the golf course and it's open to the general public and people are just walking around willy-nilly, our crime rate, our residential burglary rate is going to go sky high.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, I understand your interests, but if anything here occurs other than this staying as a golf club, overall the entire community is going to have a reduction of equity in every single home. Is there a way that we would be compensated if we were to negotiate with you if development went through individually?
You gotta be kidding. No, they don't care.
Okay, folks, let him answer.
How would you be compensated?
Well, what I'm saying is, for instance, I'm on the golf course. I have a panoramic view, so I'm going to be adversely affected because now I'll be looking probably at the backs of a bunch of homes and noise carries across the water. So will you be compensating any of us for our loss in equity?
No.
Right.
Okay.
And it also is going to depending on where you are located with respect to green space and all that.
Oh, that was a bad.
The other question I have is that
Bad
for a long
answer.
time, a lot of homeowners here have floated the idea of gating the community. In the beginning, it was going to be all private streets and sidewalks. They were signed over to the city. I think that was penny wise and dollar foolish at that time. If development, I know there's a lot of hoops and there's a lot of nuts and bolts to this, but if development goes forward, would you be agreeable to make this a 50 and older community, and that the new housing to stay within our culture so that there isn't a clash is also 50 and older, or 55 and older?
Yeah, it'd be 55, it's 55 and older. It's typically what you do, and I will ask about that. Because that would, could possibly be an offer from one of the builders. But your community itself, though, is not.
Correct.
That might present a problem,
I know that, but the majority of us here are over 55.
just like me, just like us.
I'm being my ADHD thing.
It's like flying from Toronto to Orlando with all the kids going to Disney.
My name is Dan Hicks.
I'm so sorry about that.
I am a resident of the Country Club of Mount Dora. It makes no difference what community that I live in, because I am part of this group out here. I have two questions. One is that there is a group of people in here, many who are sitting here tonight, who are members of the Friends of the Country Club of Mount Dora, who have put in a lot of time and a hell of a lot of money to try and help to keep this facility open and running and modern. So my question is, and I believe this is rhetorical, is what are you going to do for those folks who have spent, let's take the time out of it, what are you going to do about the money that they've spent because you folks have now pulled the rug out from underneath them? That's my first question. Can I have an answer, please?
You did say it was a rhetorical question, so usually rhetorical questions aren't answered.
I know what the answer is, but continue.
Well, I'll give you a different answer than you probably expect, is that it's my understanding, according to when I spoke to Mr. Della Russo, that he actually talked about one day he may pass on. When he talked to your organized group here. And in those conversations, he actually said, and when it does, that golf course is going to close. That's a fact. So the reality is that the volunteer community effort you all have done here is just that. It was a volunteer community effort. And it may have been sweat, blood, and money, but it's not something that's going to get compensated. I'm giving you an honest answer.
However, this was a decision that you suggested that we do because you didn't want to invest as much money. So it's easy for the folks out here to invest their money and get nothing in return.
Right. That's right.
The rug has now been pulled from underneath.
If that's your interpretation, that's your opinion.
Right.
Does anybody out here say I'm wrong?
Yay! You're right.
The second question is, who are the developers? You haven't named a developer yet. Who are these people?
I said in my original comments that we have different offers from different builders. We have not selected one. When we do, you'll be the first to see the elevations of the type of product they build.
So we're not going to be given any idea. You can't name
We haven't
any
made a
developer,
choice yet. We haven't made an application to the city, and we haven't made a choice yet on those matters.
but you know names.
Yeah, and it's private business. It's not your business.
Okay.
Sir, with all respect. With all
Exactly
respect.
what I said, folks.
Whatever that means. I don't know what that means you're saying. I just said as soon as we have it,
unhanded.
you'll know it. I don't know it.
Not even one name of anybody who might
Oh,
be
come on.
interested. No, I'm not. Come on. Have a great day.
Good job, Dan. Way to go, Dan.
Howdy, folks.
Oh, boy.
I'm Patrick Stewart, St. Andrews, 9007.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't have a lot of questions for this gentleman because it's obvious from looking at the internet. Look it up. He's a golf course hatchet man. All right.
Yeah.
He's been doing this for Del Russo.
Yep.
He's making all his money sitting here doing it. He's a pro.
Yeah.
Okay. Great job. I want to thank Attila and the grounds crew and all the guys that work out here to make this beautiful. We've been through a hell of a time the last 2 years fighting COVID.
No thanks.
This place was a lifesaver. I came here many times. It was the only thing open.
Yeah.
We're putting money in your pocket, and this is what we get, right? So the big picture here is it's not Attila and the ground crew that screwed this up.
Right.
It's the management that screwed this up. They're lining their pockets. You ever heard of Lev Parnas? In jail? Campaign refund? Reform? I mean, give me a break. Him and Del Russo are in bed together, raising money for Trump. And did you go to that Trump rally? How much money did you put into the bucket?
Enough.
No, it's not irrelevant.
Enough. Go on.
That
go on.
money.
No, go.
That money is
Go.
what put us in debt.
Just go. Just go. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Okay, I swear to you, I don't like the sound of my own voice, and public speaking is the last thing I want to do. But I think, if nothing else, we owe these gentlemen a thank you for the wake-up call we're getting tonight. I know when they were rallying to raise membership fees, there were so many that came to the call. But there were still some who said, well, $50 a month, and cried a little bit about that. This is a wake-up call, and at some point we have to decide, our council members and our town hall, we've already made insinuations about how sluggish it can be. If we don't let them hear our voice loud and clear, these gentlemen will be back a second, third, and maybe a fourth time unless we do something about it. And I don't know if that means going down to the town hall collectively, but the first thing we need to do is start calling every one of those phone numbers that we've been given out. If you haven't gotten them, they're accessible and they'll be handed out. But I will tell you that this will happen if we do nothing.
Amen.
And I will tell you